All right, joining us next on the show today, this Big Friday edition of the Steak for Breakfast podcast. She's the former ambassador to Denmark. She's also the vice chair at the Center for Energy and Environment at the America First Policy Institute. Welcome back to the show, Ambassador Carla Sands. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Ron, it's great to be with you.
Always a pleasure to host, Ambassador, and we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So, we've hit Friday polling heading into the weekend, and all of them have, as we all knew, would narrow after, I don't even know if you want to call it a Harris honeymoon or a bump or anything like that. But, you know, the media did what they needed to do as Kamala Harris rolled out her presidential campaign this week, named her very controversial vice presidential pick in Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. And, you know, you've kind of seen it playing out in real time. Still no media, no interviews, no in-person answering for anything to do with the last 3+ years of what's been going on in the country. I know you've tracked this through several election cycles and kind of see it, materializing as we're all watching it right now, Ambassador. I kind of want to get some commentary on how you think the rollout's been for the Democrats.
You know, it couldn't have gone better for them if they had, dreamed it up. We have Hyde and Kamala now. Hyde and Kamala, and Ms. Harris is trying to run out the clock and not take any press questions without a teleprompter in front of her. It feels like Joe Biden 2.0, but I don't know. I think he actually may have made more sense than she does. She talks word salad, but we have to put that aside. It doesn't matter. What matters are that I'll just call it communist/Democrat policies that she's the most leftist member of. First, she was in the Senate. Now she's the furthest left, most Marxist candidate for president in our country's history. So they're hiding her policies. She's trying to walk back all the talk that she's done over the decades. She absolutely wants to make all of these illegal immigrants to be citizens. Right. She said it out loud multiple times. She wants them to vote. This is her agenda. She supports transing the kids. She wants to indoctrinate your children. And she wants to take away your free speech, stack the Supreme Court, and do away with the filibuster so that they can jam through their policies and there's no Supreme Court to put a check on their leftist dreams. So if that doesn't scare you, we need to pay attention to what matters and not the noise.
Yeah, that's an excellent point you make. It's not like any of the pollsters or the media are going to do anything to make this fair. You know, you see the way the whole debates item is kind of coming together, or not so much itself. You know, Kamala Harris wants to do the ABC debate. That is extremely hostile territory for Donald Trump. He just got, almost ambushed at the National Association of Black Journalists summit last week when, the commentator from there started hammering him with questions. We all know that he's suing George Papadopoulos for slander and fake news over there. So she doesn't want Fox News. She doesn't want any other media outlet to be covering them as far as the debates, even if it's a town hall. I don't really think that's the way you can run a campaign. But if you look at what they did with Joe Biden, I think you mentioned it at the top of the hit, if they want to run a basement campaign, it's going to be kind of weird to see how bad the country is in shape right now, not have her answer for anything. But we've seen weirder stuff like with the 2020 presidential election.
Yeah, Ron, is so true. And so the next point is she's on this sort of sugar high of just having, announced, and now she's got this lefty vice president candidate who is a stolen valor guy, but don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to, he's a leftist, and that's what this is about. Don't pay attention to the little things. We have to vote. And to that point, one more thing, and then I want to get to voting, and that is that Joe Biden is now making noises that perhaps he steps aside in September and gives her campaign another mega bounce if she becomes the sitting U.S. president and she's running. That changes a lot. And from September to early November, can she win? Remember, early voting starts in 38 days in multiple states, including my home state of Pennsylvania. The election day is only 88 days away. So 38 days, a little more than a month from now, if he steps aside and then we go into early voting, that's huge wind at her back. So the mechanics of this are that if Republicans will register to vote and register all their friends that support the Second Amendment, all their friends that go to church, don't believe the people that say that politics shouldn't be within the Christian purview. We are called to be the salt and the light. We are called to run the race, and we are called to finish it. And right now, we are not enough of a voice in our country. And that's why we're losing our Judeo-Christian heritage. Look at what's happening in the UK.
Yep.
That's a preview of coming attractions if we don't get this election right. And so I just hope everybody on this on your podcast listening and their friends and family, if they're not registered to vote, they can go online and just do that right now. They can take out their phone and register to vote right now in their state and county, and then check how early can they vote. They can sign up for a mail-in ballot. I'm worried also, Ron, about CrowdStrike. I don't know if you're open to talking about that.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. When I left the RNC convention, the day I left, it was the day after the convention, you couldn't move. Most airlines were down, and
Right.
it was a CrowdStrike countrywide outage. Now, the CEO came out soon after that and said, "Oh, we're really sorry about that. We were preparing for election day." I just want, if the CEO says we were preparing for election day, you have to take that seriously.
Sure.
So what were they preparing for election day? If there are systems down on election day and Democrats have been harvesting those ballots and getting those early votes in, like they did in the primary, where 49% of Joe Biden's voters voted early in Pennsylvania, 13% of Donald Trump's voters voted early, 49 to 13. If that happens, we're not going to win, even with a groundswell, if you can't vote on election day. So I'm really urging people, prepare for the worst. What's the worst thing that could happen? That we can't vote on election day because there's a CrowdStrike type event, the power goes down, something happens. One more statistic is that people that intend to vote on election day, 20% of them, it's a shocker to me, 20% of them don't make it to the polls.
Yep.
Something happens. And so that's also our margin of victory. Please, I'm begging you, vote early.
We have to. And then, one of the things I definitely wanted to talk to you about, because we kind of laid it out last time you were on, Ambassador, you were really excited at the prospectus of J.D. Vance being named as the vice presidential nominee. He was selected by Donald Trump. He was rolled out at the RNC. I think he's been doing a magnificent job since he's hit the ground running, bouncing around all of these swing and battleground states, holding rallies, holding Kamala Harris accountable on the tarmac when he walks over to her plane with his security detail before he goes and delivers remarks to supporters. I'm really excited for the debate and to see, how far J.D. Vance has come. He had such a wonderful midterm election cycle in 2022. I thought he was the strongest debater out of any of the candidates running across the country in the House, Senate, and for gubernatorial races. And then, when you look at how it kind of rounds out the ticket and really brings more people under the MAGA tent, I don't think Donald Trump could have made a better choice. And I think moving forward, this is going to prove to be one of the factors that helps him get over the finish line in November.
I totally agree with you. I think JD is outstanding, and he thinks outside the box, which so does President Trump. Going over to that plane and doing his own presser because she's running from the press. How much do we love that? I want more of that.
Yep.
I loved him as the VP candidate before anyone was talking about him. Maybe you were, but most people weren't thinking about him. But we both ran in 2022, and I got to know him a little bit. He is a very whip-smart guy who loves a debate, and he's willing to go where many Republicans fear.
I like how Donald Trump has kind of taken a step back from the campaign trail. He's hit it extremely hard, going to places most traditional conservatives and Republicans wouldn't go. Bitcoin conferences, the Libertarian Summit, doing live streams with Aiden Ross. He's going to be on X Spaces with Elon Musk next week. Just doing all of these things to widen the tent and show that he is running to be the president of the United States and not just the Republican Party. But, after the Democrat National Convention, Donald Trump's going to hit the ground running, probably with a fully loaded schedule, rallies in multiple states on multiple days. And we're going to see more of the traditionally the way he's campaigned. I think financially this is a smart move by the Trump team, but at the same time it does set us up for all of the major news networks who are contractually obligated to cover the Democrat National Convention. I didn't really think it made much sense for Donald Trump to hit it too hard during the DNC because he'd be in a little muted box on the right hand corner of the screen while they're showing all these radical progressives at the DNC having a party because Joe Biden's gone. But, as Kamala Harris rolled out her campaign, she hit the boilerplate issues hard with the Democrats. This election is about abortion. It's about the environment. It's about gun control and things of that nature. We know that's not the same messaging when they're on in prime time at the end of next week that they're going to have at the DNC. They're going to talk about how they are the party of law and order, how they want to solve the immigration problem, how they're showing strength on the world stage. We all know this is BS, but how do we navigate those waters and then hit the ground running as Republicans following the convention next week?
Yeah, I don't know what President Trump's going to do during their convention. He's a counter programming kind of guy.
Yes.
So who knows what he dreams up and what his team has. Remember, the Democrats aren't the only ones that can do surprises, not just October surprises. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. And I also am really thrilled that the Texas AG has forced now Act Blue to include those numbers on the back of credit cards so that we know that it's not a Chinese national using some gift card to contribute to Kamala Harris, because they've been doing this under Obama 2 terms, under Biden, and now under Kamala Harris. And so we have to get to the bottom of that. And he's right about that. You can't have hundreds of millions of dollars pouring in and not have it be suspect when it's sudden and they're mostly new donors. No way. I don't buy that. And it's going to put a stop to the smurfing, where they were taking elderly people, even sometimes Republican donors, and using their personal ID information and then donating in their name hundreds and thousands of times, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, when they're very, they have limited means. They might make a $15 donation. They're not making a $150,000 donation.
Right.
So I'm thrilled about that. But getting back to the campaign, JD's on fire. Donald Trump knows exactly what he needs to do. And the American people, in spite of the crazy media saying, oh, it's going to be the end of democracy. Oh, he's going to be a totalitarian. We know what he did.
Yeah.
He was an outstanding president. He had the wind at his front because the 3-letter agencies and the media were all aligned against him. But his ideas, his love for the American people, his bringing the economy to the best place it's been in my lifetime. And I'm a Reagan Republican. Donald Trump is a better president than Ronald Reagan was. And so any Republican that's saying, oh, no, I don't like his mean tweets, or I just don't like the man, shame on you. Get off your duff and go register and vote for this man and save Western civilization, because the rest of the West is falling right now from these leftist policies. We are the last hope. And if we don't get this done right, I really fear for the United States and the Western world. I don't know what the future has for my daughter, and I want it to be bright. I want it to be great and have the American dream be achievable for her too.
I don't think you could have framed it any better than that, Ambassador, and that's where we're going to leave it. Listen, we've got your bio page at the American First Policy Institute live linked in the show description today. Anywhere else we could find you on social media or links that we could put in the show description as well?
Sure, Ron. You can follow me on Twitter at Carla H. Sands. I'm hottest there. I'm on Instagram and Facebook a little bit. I have a website and a YouTube, carlasands.com. Thanks so much, Ron, and God bless you.
Always a pleasure, and we'll be catching up with you again next month. This is the former U.S. Ambassador to Denmark. She also sits as the Vice Chair at the Center for Energy and the Environment at the American First Policy Institute. Ambassador Carla Sands, thanks for joining us on the show. Have a great weekend.